Ladies and gentlemen, that's right. We have gotten to the Super Bowl 57, the big game, as they call it, on Sunday. Very, very excited right here on the Razzball Fantasy Football YouTube show and podcast and network. All season long, we have been bringing you all the fantasy content we possibly can. We've been bringing you the DFS content during the playoffs. Now we've got Super Bowl, DFS, lineups, and player props for the Chiefs versus the Eagles. Let's get after it right now on the Razzball Fantasy Football Show. Welcome back to the program, everybody. I'm your host, Sky Guasco, joined once again by my man, Mr. Derek Favret. It's great to be back in the hot seat. Last week, Derek and I took the week off, if you will. We were kind of just the in-between time. Let us kind of catch our breath in between the big, long season there, and we had that week off. And the Pro Bowl doesn't deserve people's attention. I'll just leave it at that. Although they do have a couple fun games that I used to play on the playground, so that's a bit entertaining, but not quite football, if you will. But we are back at it. We have, of course, the Super Bowl DFS lineup suggestions, as well as the Super Bowl player props. And, of course, we will be giving you our Super Bowl predictions for the winner at the end of the episode. We appreciate everybody hanging out with us all season long here on the Razzball YouTube channel, which I hope you're subscribed to already. If not, please make sure to hit that bell, subscribe, leave a comment for your score prediction for the Chiefs and Eagles Super Bowl coming up on Sunday. Also, folks, we're under 50 subscribers away from 1,000 subscribers. We just kicked up this channel this year. We're so proud of our progress. Be a part of it, please. If you're not subscribing already, hit that bell and make sure that we are part of the 1,000 club heading into next season. And, of course, stick around. We have content for you all off season as well. The Dynasty Diehards are another branch now of the Razzball Fantasy Football Network. They're kicking off strong all season long. Of course, myself, Derek, Bob, and Matt, and the rest of the crew, of course, will be with you all season long. All of our articles are available at razzball.com. And for those of you on the go, per usual, make sure you hit that podcast, Razzball Fantasy Football Podcast, anywhere you stream and listen to your podcast on the go. And, of course, we have hockey, we have basketball, we have baseball as well on the Razzball Network. But today, we're talking about the Super Bowl 57, and we'll get into our DFS lineups first, but I have to invite my good friend in. We've been knocking out the entire playoffs together. Derek, nice week off last week after basically 6 months straight of Razzball content and shows, but we're excited for the big game on Sunday. And I got to ask, man, one Super Bowl moment that sticks out to you as a fan of football, fantasy related, maybe it's your favorite team, maybe it's just childhood memory, what have you. What's maybe your favorite Super Bowl moment in general over your years watching?
Yeah, well, it's great to be with you, Sky, once again, and we'll kind of wrap up the season tonight with this show. But I'd say my favorite moment is probably it's one that sticks out at me the most was the missed kick, the missed kick heard around the world, especially in Western New York. Growing up in Northern New York, when the Buffalo Bills were making the runs to the Super Bowl every year,
of course,
certainly, four in a row, 4 Super Bowl appearances in a row is something else, but 4 losses in a row too is something you can't, you can't shake that. But that first one was the one, and they missed the field goal. That's the one that sticks out, from my childhood, really.
Yeah, that's brutal. And of course, so many people kind of throw shade at the Bills from that era because of the 4 consecutive losses. But look, as dominant as the Chiefs have been and all this other things, like Mahomes has been there constantly, right? But to get to 4 Super Bowls in itself is absolutely unbelievable. And those teams back in the day, right? The Steelers on that side. And then, of course, on the NFC, you had the Niners and the Giants and the Cowboys fighting for it every single season. Washington was in that mix back in the day too. Minnesota, of course, made 4 Super Bowls as well back in the day, but came up short. So just to get there is quite impressive. So it's an unfortunate memory, but kudos to Buffalo. And obviously the future is bright there currently for the Buffalo Bills. For me, I'm going to turn the clock way back. I'm going to go with a homer pick first and then just an actual pick. So my homer pick is 1994 the 49ers and Chargers Super Bowl, which is the first one that I remember like cognitively watching. I was 7 years old. Niners, Steve Young got the monkey off his back, if you will. 5 touchdowns, smashed up on the Chargers that year, and Niners got another Super Bowl then. But fast forward a couple years later, and in 1997, the Packers beat up on the Drew Bledsoe Patriots before the Brady dynasty took off. And back in the day, for me, I mean, Brett Favre's a different conversation in current days. But back in the day when you're a little kid playing football on the playground, it was hard not to be Brett Favre or Jerry Rice or Barry Sanders, depending on the position you were playing. So I was a big fan of Favre back in the day, and watching that Packers team, and Antonio Freeman and Desmond Howard taking the opening kick back, and everything that they had back in the day there for that big Packers win over the Patriots. And then, of course, they came back the next year against the Broncos and John Elway and lost. And then the Broncos win again versus the Falcons later on to send John Elway out into the sunset. So those mid to late 90s Super Bowls for me were kind of my bread and butter growing up as a kid, becoming a real football fan, and just some incredible games back in the day there. So
let's hope tomorrow's game provides a memory like that to some young fan out there. And
it will, I'm sure.
20 years from now, they'll be talking about tomorrow's game. Let's hope.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And let's pause there for a second before we get into our DFS lineups and player props. And again, folks, if you're turning in with us, thank you so much for making us your Saturday evening choice here. And make sure to subscribe and jump in the comments if you'd like to. We can open up the conversation here. Just a quick thought, like the Chiefs are the Chiefs, right? But losing Tyreek Hill is a big deal. And there's a lot of people are, wide receivers don't matter. Mahomes is Mahomes anyway, and all this other stuff. But look, Tyreek Hill is a world talent, and him dropping off of that team and them still being in here is really incredible. Obviously goes to Mahomes and Kelsey, but Andy Reid continuing to be absolutely phenomenal. And Eric Bieniemy as well. And then the defense that always comes around for Kansas City in the playoffs. And then on the other side with Philadelphia, they had a nice run last year, but a lot of doubts for Jalen Hurts. How could this defense work? How would this offense stay healthy? Yada, yada. And here they are, both 16-3, both incredible down the line there. We'll get to our picks later on. But any thoughts in general, Derek, of the teams who have made it? Last week, or 2 weeks ago, I should say, we gave our predictions on who we thought would win those games in the AFC and NFC championship games. And I went with the Bengals and I went with the 49ers. Super duper confident about both of those picks. Obviously, the Niners got a rough deal and they just couldn't overcome that. I think they win that game if they do it again against Philly. But, Mahomes finally got over the hump with the Bengals, had a bit of a break there. Nonetheless, they get the win. Either way, I was surprised almost that Philly and KC won those games 2 weeks ago to be in this game. Are you surprised, or have you been seeing this as the 2 number 1 seeds in the NFC and the AFC coming together in a rare 1 versus 1? It doesn't always happen that way.
It is rare.
That it would.
No, I'm not so much surprised at the Eagles. I mean, they've really been, consistently the class or amongst the class of the league on the NFC side all year. The 49ers were up there, the Vikings were up there for a little bit, but the Eagles have always just been there. They had a little rough patch when Hurts went out, but they've just been right there, and they've really come together in the playoffs. And what looked, for various reasons, but what looked like a pretty formidable NFC playoff, setup was pretty easy for them to carve up. So they come into this game with a lot of confidence, and they seem to be getting better every week. And like I said, they've been pretty consistently the top of the NFC. On the AFC side, number 1 seed, but they had a gauntlet to run. Look, maybe unlucky for the Chiefs on that side that the Bengals and the Bills, knocked one of them out, amongst the 2 of them, and while they had Jacksonville, so it was a little bit easier road to the AFC title game. But you said, with Hill gone and they're back here in the Super Bowl, that is saying something for sure for that whole team. Andy Reid all the way down, and with the players as well. And I think also, if Tyreek Hill's still on this team, we're having a different conversation than we are. We're obviously going to talk about Travis Kelce, in Mahomes, but you put Hill back on that team, and now we're talking, back like with the Cowboys, you've got Aikman and Irvin and Emmitt Smith, you've got the big three, and here, okay, we've got the big two, but there's a lot of other really nice pieces there in Kansas City that make it work. So it's not a surprise they're here. I didn't pick them. I thought the Bengals, were riding high. We're going to come in confident and beat Kansas City. And, right from the beginning, they didn't look like they were the same Bengals as, they were the previous week in Buffalo. And they made it a game. And it, like you said, it came down to maybe a number of reasons why they lost that game, not just the late hit out of bounds, but it's the fans in Cincinnati are probably pretty bummed, tonight, thinking that their team should be in this game tomorrow.
Yeah. And I'll tell you too, I mean, on the other coast, the 49ers feel the same.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, everybody on this podcast knows I'm a 49er, but just as a fan of football, you feel for the teams that kind of get a raw deal. And look, injuries are part of football. I'm not sitting here boo-hooing. Of course, I was disappointed the way the game went, but fourth string teams don't even have four quarterbacks. And for them to still be competitive and making it happen with Brock Purdy all the way through. And then look, Josh Johnson's fine as a backup, but he's the type of dude like you just can't have play. Like Chase Daniel, if he's playing, you're in serious trouble, even though he's your backup, right? It's just not the same.
That's
right.
So
unfortunately it didn't work. But I really feel that, they play those two games again. Neutral field, just play them all over again. I would still pick the 49ers and Bengals to win both of those matchups if obviously fully healthy.
Yep, I agree. That would be, you could flip a coin, 5 times and you can get 5 different sets of answers there. So,
yep. And the Bengals and 49ers also having a similar gut punch as well. I mean, back-to-back seasons, right? The 49ers 2 years ago with the Rams were basically an interception away from wrapping up their game. That comes off of the Jimmy Garoppolo overthrow, Mahomes' first Super Bowl, what have you. And then the Bengals come back and they lose the Super Bowl to the Rams, come back this year, guns a-blazing, come up a bit short as well. So both of those franchises have been literally as close as you can possibly be without being there 2 years in a row now. And I expect both of them to continue to be the cream of the crop. And obviously the Eagles are now part of that conversation. You mentioned Minnesota. We'll see if they can retain that next year. And we don't expect Kansas City to go anywhere anytime soon. So, all right. Well, we're very excited about Sunday, obviously. And I'll put you on the spot one more time and we'll get going. We didn't prep for this, so I apologize to make this intense for you. But if you had one single Super Bowl snack, just one, not like a buffet style, one single Super Bowl snack, what are you going with?
Chicken wings. Can't.
Chicken wings.
Got to have
easy.
them. Got to have them.
Tried and true. Traditional.
Yep.
I think I'm going to go with you as well.
Yep. I think Super Bowl, I'm thinking chicken wings. Yeah.
Love it. And everything's going well. You could pick your seasoning. How many chicken wings on average are you thinking you're putting down over the course of a game?
Dozen and a half.
Dozen and a half, not bad.
Yeah. I'd say about 18,
so do like
18 over the course of the game.
I was going to give an over under about 16, 17. So you take the over with yourself there.
I'll take the over. I have confidence in the over for me.
My man, you got a good 3.5, 4 hours too over a Super Bowl. All
That's
those
right.
commercials.
That's right.
You can regain, maybe look at 20, end the season on a high. I like that.
Yep.
All right, folks, feel free to drop in the comment section your favorite Super Bowl snack. I'm actually going to go with you. I know it's not hot TV, but wings, tried and true. I dig it, man. I'm with you. Let's get into the DFS side of things. So all playoff long, you and I have given multiple lineups, right? We had one per game, and then we had, we started having the MVP stacks, which are kind of a different, right? It's one game. So you have the MVP, the one times player, and then a bunch of flex positions. We did a bunch of that in the AFC and NFC championship. For this week, we're only going to do one lineup, right? I put together a lineup. You're going to handle more of the player props. So I'll just kind of walk through who I put together. And I would love to, of course, hear your responses to love it or hate it, blow it up, try again, right? And start thinking about it. When I'm thinking of a single game DFS lineup, and I've talked about this a lot over the last couple of weeks, of course, you got to have super studs, right? Like you want to get in AJ Brown and Devonta Smith. You want to get in Travis Kelce, obviously. Dallas Goedert's going to be in most lineups. You're going to either pick one of the quarterbacks or put them both in there. And then you're looking to scrape the barrel a little bit on some long shots. The trick is with this particular game is, although the Chiefs are the Chiefs, there's not a ton of fantasy options on that side, in my opinion, right? Kelsey and Mahomes, obviously. But other than them, I think everybody's a long shot. On the Eagles side, I don't necessarily think they're more as a high-powered, potent offense per se, but they have so many more weapons in fantasy to choose from in DFS lineups. So this is actually kind of tricky for me this week, which is interesting. I did something that I haven't done before, and I went with both quarterbacks. So I don't love that, but I do think that Mahomes is going to have his way. I like the secondary for the Eagles. Again, we'll get to our picks later, but I like the secondary with the Eagles. However, Mahomes in the Super Bowl, Mahomes in the playoffs, Mahomes. He's healthy. Obviously, the ankle was not as big of an issue as we thought it was going to be versus the Bengals. He's had another 2 weeks to heal. I think he's going to be just fine there. And they're going to have to throw the ball. I think they'll be able to do that, whether it's 15 receivers or just Travis Kelce. But I like Mahomes. And then I love Jalen Hurts as well. There's been a lot of talk all week and a lot of these videos coming out. And I love this kid just as like a person. I'm rooting for him. Just a lot of grit with him. A lot of like humble, just I hear all the talk. I know Mahomes is better than me, quote unquote. Like I get all that stuff, but I'm also here, and I've been through my run, and I appreciate his stance on this. I think he's out there to prove something, whether he wins or loses like Joe Burrow did last year. So I like Jalen Hurts a lot in this game also. And I do think the Eagles will be able to throw when they do against the Chiefs. Then I start looking at the rest of my lineup. Now, because I went with quarterbacks, that pretty much wipes out on FanDuel about 25,000 35,000 of my budget right off the bat with two quarterbacks. So going with a couple flex positions, and some of these guys are shots in the dark, but I'm going to go Isaiah Pacheco. You and I have talked about Isaiah Pacheco and Jerick McKinnon for the Chiefs all playoff long. Basically, you tend to pick one of them. I pick the other guy, and that's how we've been. In this particular matchup, I'm going to go with Isaiah Pacheco. I think he's going to get more run, but he's also going to get goal line work. And he did have a career high last week or 2 weeks ago in the AFC Championship in targets, receptions, and receiving yards. So it's not just run the ball with Pacheco, throw the ball to McKinnon. I think both those guys could be in the backfield pretty often, especially if Kadarius Toney, who's that kind of hybrid Debo guy for the Chiefs, isn't 100% healthy. So I like Isaiah Pacheco there as one of them. And then I'm going to go with Kenny Gainwell, not Miles Sanders. I know that we've talked about Miles Sanders a lot. I've been a Miles Sanders hater for years. I like the kid's talent, loved him in coming after Saquon at Penn State and stuff. It's not about him personally. I just don't think he's as efficient as he should be behind this offensive line with the hype that he gets. And I text you guys every single weekend when Kenny Gainwell gets his 3 carries and has as much effectiveness as Miles Sanders done on his 15. I think Kenny Gainwell is just as good as Miles Sanders, and I would argue even better in some aspects, certainly receiving the ball. I think Kenny Gainwell is a sneak attack in this game. And I think back to James White a few years ago when the Patriots came back against the Falcons in that iconic comeback, and James White was just unstoppable in that game. And he's not a power runner, but he got the right carries around the goal line, made some work, and also Boston Scott is there to take some work away too. So Kenny Gainwell is about half the price on FanDuel as Miles Sanders there. So I like that budget and upside. And then this one is completely a shot in the dark. I thought about a couple guys for the Chiefs who could just catch a bomb here and there, but I like Quez Watkins. Quez Watkins probably only gets 3 targets in this game, but if he catches one of them, it'll be 70 yards, and that might be a touchdown as well. And for the price point, that would break the bank. I can't imagine anybody else having Quez Watkins with all these other weapons on both teams in their lineups. So this pick will probably make or break my team. I see Isaiah Pacheco and Kenneth Gainwell kind of evening out. People probably have them in their lineups. Of course, Mahomes and Hurts will be in lineups, but Quez Watkins is my guy. They're susceptible against the deep pass. When Jalen Hurts does pass the ball, right, A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith obviously are going to get all that attention, and Dallas Goedert over the middle. But Quez Watkins has gotten loose a few times this year. And again, when he does, it's massive damage. So I thought about MVS, but I've put him in my DFS lineups over the years too much. I've been burned. I can't have that on Super Bowl. If I'm going to take a risk, I'd rather just go with Quez Watkins, who I've seen happen a couple of times there. And again, look at the matchups. I think a lot of people would put MVS in as their shot in the dark guy. I don't see them doing that for Quez Watkins. So try to gain an edge there. So again, Patrick Mahomes is my MVP. So it's that 1 time, or 1.5 times, I should say. Jalen Hurts, Isaiah Pacheco, Kenny Gainwell, and Quez Watkins is my lineup. Obviously, I have some massive names: Travis Kelce, AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, Miles Sanders, Jerick McKinnon, not mentioned. I only get 5 slots. Derek, how do you feel about the team? Anybody that you would immediately swap out? Any picks that you really do like that you weren't thinking about? And what's maybe a player or two you would try to squeeze in if you could?
Yeah, I like it. I like what you've done there. I think, solidifying that lineup with the 2 quarterbacks. I mean, you can't go wrong there. And, coin flip between the 2, which one you're going to make the MVP. You go with Mahomes. I mean, you can't be critical of that pick. I really like the Gainwell pick. I have some. I have a couple props that I'll talk about with Sanders. They're small ones though, but because I'm really I would say nervous for his usage. I think he'll get plenty of run, but both teams are going to use this time, these 2 weeks, to script a couple things that we're probably not thinking about. And that speaks to Gainwell or Boston Scott, on the Eagles. So I like that you included one of those 2 in that role. And with your salary situation, what you have left, I really love what you've done and gone with Quez on that pick. Like you said, you might be one of the only people who uses him in a matchup. They're going people are going to use. Like you said, both Eagles receivers are not considered. Both tight ends. Obviously Kelsey's going to be widely used, but I really haven't heard a lot. And even when I was doing my prop bets, there really wasn't a lot of tension on Dallas Goedert either in this game, which I found interesting. So it wouldn't surprise me, if he gets a little bit. Attention as well. But no, I like how you did. I like how you built this. I was wondering how you were going to include, okay, you said you got Mahomes, but you didn't go Kelsey. So who else on the Chiefs did you include? I was really interested in seeing how you built that, to bring those players in. So I like what you did. I mean, Pacheco's certainly the guy, there. And I've got a prop along the lines of the Kansas City backfield I'll share. But I like Pacheco. He's got a tough matchup, but he's certainly going to get a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, and the one that jumps off the page for me is Travis Kelce, obviously, right? Now you could throw him in a lineup. I mean, that wouldn't be crazy if you were to do that. I mean, I actually put together kind of a pieced lineup, if you will, with him in it. But again, things change so quickly when you go with a quarterback and Travis Kelce because he's so expensive. So why not just go with the quarterbacks if you're going to spend that, right? Like, I mean, Travis Kelce can be a game breaker, but if I go Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, then I'm ending up with some, deeper dives anywhere. Kadarius Toney, who I don't even think is 100% healthy, right? I mean, Boston Scott, like Marquez Valdez-Scantling, maybe I can squeeze Juju at that point. But to be honest with you, I'm just not as confident with those guys. And I'm not confident about Quez necessarily, or honestly, even Gainwell.
Right.
I just can see a situation where Chiefs get up by 10 or something. And now Jalen, play action, bomb 70-yard touchdown. In football, that's just one play that the Chiefs slept on. In fantasy, that blows up an entire roster, right? And Gainwell, again, I mean, if anything happens to Sanders or he's just inefficient, the Eagles have not been shy to then give more work to Gainwell down the stretch or Boston Scott, whatever. So, again, kind of shooting in the dark with those, but those are just the big ones. And the thing with Travis Kelce too is obviously the podcast and, Jason being on the other side and all that narrative is super fun, obviously. And their mom better do the coin flip or the NFL is completely blowing it. But they're going to force him the ball, obviously. I mean, they have to. He's Travis Kelce. But the Eagles could get a little extra, let's be real. Jason and Travis are obviously very close. They're rooting for each other, kind of like it's cool. They're not like these brothers like, oh, fuck you and blah, 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 all this shit. They're really human about it, which is nice. But let's not think that they're not in each other's locker room being like, I talk to Travis every week about the Chiefs and help him with game plans and stuff because I'm a football player too. And now all of a sudden we're playing them. Like I've got a couple insights that would help us win this game. I have to imagine. Now they're both on offense, which helps a little bit, right? But nonetheless, I think that maybe Hassan Haskins can get in there, or Hassan Reddick, sorry, can get in there and potentially disrupt Travis Kelce a little bit, throw him off for a couple. So yes, they'll hyper target him, but there have been a couple games this year where they've hyper focused on him in defense. And if they neutralize him minimum, I think that might throw off the Chiefs quite a bit. And so now he could also go for 10 catches and 4 touchdowns. We've seen that too.
Right.
But I think it's going to be a little bit more of take away Kelce is the game plan for the Eagles.
Yeah.
And I mean, on the Chiefs side, it's going to be stop the run.
Right. It's got to be, it really has to be, you're not going to stop Mahomes and frankly, you don't need to. He's quite a playmaker and he can create, but we going back to the beginning of the show here, we talked about the absence of Tyreek Hill, because that changes the equation. You can take away Kelce and the rest of the pieces are manageable, for your defense. So you could, like you said, you could put a little extra attention on Kelce, bracket him, chuck him at the line and, over under or whatever, switch off. I mean, you can just make his game, be in his pocket the whole game, and he's going to get his balls, he's going to get his targets, but he might not beat you, and then coming back to your DFS lineup, well, Mahomes going to go somewhere else, or he's going to do it himself, and that's where you're going to score, you score your points, and you're going to win those, the folks out there who have Kelce in the MVP slot. I imagine there's going to be a ton of those. Mm-hmm. You're rolling the dice. You might look golden, and it's a no-brainer pick. But on the same token, you might, be sitting here at this time tomorrow and saying, why did I, waste my lineup with this? I could have put someone else there and, and save money and got someone else. So I agree with you. I have to think that the Eagles spent a lot of time these 2 weeks game planning how they stop Kelce.
Yep.
First,
but everyone else does too.
True.
Right?
That is true. That is true.
I mean, we say this kind of stuff in fantasy. We're like, well, the game plan has to be stop Derrick Henry. They have to stop Derrick Henry.
And then goes for
250 and 3.
Yeah,
I mean, like
exactly.
You can only do so much, obviously. But when I'm putting together a lineup, I have to have some sort of mentality in my mind to make decisions. And I'm thinking it's hyper focus on Kelce to try to slow him down. Cool. And maybe that's Isaiah Pacheco running the ball more, whatever. A couple of years ago, it was Damian Williams, right? Who should have been the Super Bowl MVP when they beat my Niners, but that's another discussion. So maybe it's Isaiah Pacheco or Jerick McKinnon instead. On the other side, if you're going to stop the run versus the Eagles, well, maybe Jalen Hurts now becomes more of that mobile back that we've seen, especially around the goal line. Pop to Quez or maybe Kenny Gainwell out of the background. So just trying to think a bit outside the box.
Yeah. You think about it, if you get to the end of the game and Kelce's got 10 catches and he's averaging 6 or 7 yards per catch, that's a win for your defense. Mm-hmm. That's a win.
Totally.
You get let him, he catches the ball, you tackle him, you get him down, or that's easier said than done, granted, but when he gets behind the defense and and Mahomes is scrambling on 3rd and 12 and they get 30, 40 yards on it because he gets behind the defense and they're chasing him down the sideline. Now that's where he's going to beat you, or go a long touchdown. So you keep it in front of you, you get him down on the ground when he catches those balls, and you take that win, as a defense, I'm thinking. So you're not going to stop them completely. You're not going to take them out of the game, but keep them out of the end zone, keep them from those big gains, and make it challenging for the rest of the Chiefs offense.
I agree. We'll get to our picks in a little bit, but before we do that, you've kind of mentioned your player props a couple of times, Derek. I'll turn it over to you here. Why don't you go ahead and just kind of run down one by one player prop? Of course, let everybody know about your article. You have a bunch of great stuff up right now at razzball.com for free, folks. If you're looking at player props tonight, tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon, go to Derek's article, which we're going to talk through right now, but you can read it again on razzball.com and make sure you read through all of those before you make those decisions. But Derek, without any further ado, the floor is yours, my man.
Yeah, thanks. Your Sky referring to an article came out the other day on Razzball on the football side, where I went through and I looked at props within the game, scoring, team scoring, or player props, and then some fun ones as well. So we'll hit on some of those tonight, talk through, what I found and what my thoughts were. And, Sky, you can tell me if you agree or disagree. One thing you'll find with me, I'll say I'm a sucker for it. I tend to look for plus odds and where I can benefit from plus odds. Obviously those are meant to, you're typically not going to win as many of those as you should, but I seem to do pretty well with them. I'm picky with them. So I'll go through a few of the ones that I'm definitely betting and some other ones I found, and we'll see what what you guys think.
Great. And before you do that, Derek, can you explain, we try to, like, at the beginning of the playoffs, we give a brief discussion of like what DFS is. Not every fantasy player plays DFS, right? And if your regular season have ended, you're going to DFS, maybe you're newer to it. What are the strategies behind putting together a lineup? We talked a lot about that stuff. I don't want to just assume that everybody listening does player props often, right? And I think specifically, you just mentioned you're looking at plus odds. You hear stuff on the radio all the time, like, oh, that's minus 150 odds. Like, that's a gaming, whatever. Can you just give maybe a 30-second version of plus minus odds, or how to kind of look at a deal, or what you mean by you're looking for plus odds, and what that might look like when you see a plus 15, minus 15?
Yeah, for sure. So when I say plus odds, I'm looking for, say for instance, a player bet, and one of the ones I was going to talk about is AJ Brown. AJ Brown, his over under for receptions is 5.5, and so his over is plus 115. So the books are suggesting with that more likely he's going to be under 5.5 rather than over. So if you bet, say $1 on his over, then you're going to make more that dollar plus, plus the 115 coming back. So that's what I say. What I look for tend to be odds that give me greater than 1-to-1, odds coming back to me. So when I say plus odds, that's what I mean.
Nice.
So
thank you.
Yeah. And so for instance, again, another one of mine is Miles Sanders. We talked about Miles Sanders. I do like Gainwell and Scott, and I think the three of them are going to share. But I found Miles Sanders with a over under of 1.5 receptions at plus 190. So what does that mean? If he gets 2 receptions out of the backfield, you wager $1, you're being paid $2.90. So you get your dollar back plus another $1.90 on top of it. So that's what I say by plus odds. So that's what I kind of look for is some of those that don't seem too crazy for me, but that will actually give me a little bit more that I put in. So going through my article again, I talked about props within the game. Some ones that we typically hear about. Which team scores first. When I wrote the other day, all the bookmakers that I was looking at, Caesars, DK, FanDuel, a couple other ones, they all tended to favor the Eagles to score first rather than the Chiefs. Something like that to me is such a wild card. Who gets the ball first? Who's that's such a coin flip to me, and I tend to not like coin flip bets, so I stay away from those. But I did find that the bookmakers tend to think the Eagles will score first, but that's one I tend to stay away from. Results of the first scoring play was another one I found, and this one was interesting to me because they were all plus odds. Eagles touchdown was at plus 175. The Chiefs touchdown ranged from about 185 to plus 200, which was interesting. But what I really thought was interesting are field goals were for both teams were between plus 375 plus 400, which tends to suggest that the bookmakers felt a touchdown was more likely than a field goal, on the first score, which I thought was interesting. That was one that really caught my eye. I'm not going to suggest which teams kicks a field goal first, but to me it seems like and I didn't really do a quantitative analysis, but it seems like it's certainly a lot easier against two pretty good defenses to have a field goal first than a touchdown. And so those odds of plus 375, plus 400 seem pretty attractive to me, for that first score. Some other ones I found, both teams, the scoring line was about 24 points each. One outlet had 24 for both. Caesars and DK both had the Eagles at 25.5. So if you want to bet over or under, for your favorite team, that's about where you're looking, amongst the two. And you can always you can shop around. I talked a little bit in my article about, the fact that we have multiple outlets to bet online now allows you to shop around and get better odds. And so, for instance, if you felt that the Chiefs were going to hold the Eagles down below, the under for the Eagles at one site was plus 130, but it was, minus 110 at the other one. So go to the one where you're getting plus odds, and, you make the same bet that you would make at another place and get plus odds. So, you can enhance your winnings a little bit. Same thing with Kansas City. I found it in one place. They were plus 100 for their over 24.5. But there were negative odds for the other two sites. So again, go to the site that gives you plus odds. So I talked about that a little bit in the article. I do like parlays as well. Sometimes it's a fool's errand, depending on how far you go. Every now and then you see folks who put together like 7 or 8 different parlays, and you get tremendous odds that way, and it's great when it hits. But the time where you have one of those 7 or 8 that doesn't hit and everything else does, I mean, that's just, you're torturing yourself. But I did find a few parlays that I like, and I'll talk about here in a few minutes. MVP picks, of course, Hurts and Mahomes are your most likely odds for winning MVP, and but I still found plus odds for both of them. If you like. You like to pick your favorite player for Super Bowl MVP, and you think it's going to be one of the quarterbacks. At least 2 days ago, you were able to find plus odds for that, so that was good. An interesting one that's kind of unique to the Super Bowl is an opening kickoff as a touchback, which I thought was kind of odd, because I was getting plus odds there as well. Plus odds that there would be no touchback, which I thought was interesting, because you see touchbacks seem to be more and more frequent nowadays. But I dug into this one a little bit, and I found that kickoffs by both the Chiefs and the Eagles were about 65% of the time, and which was both over about 5% over average, NFL average. So betting the fact that there would be a touchback, seemed to be the right bet there. But over the last 3 games through the playoffs, the Eagles are actually down to about 50-50, and the Chiefs were about 59%. So they're both a little bit below their season average on touchbacks for kickoffs. So the opening kickoff there, again, you can bet that. That was kind of interesting to me. Some Super Bowl history there. 28 of the past 31 opening kickoffs have been returned. 3 of the past 31 resulted in touchbacks, were all kicked indoors. 3 of the past 31 resulting in touchbacks took place after the 2010 rule change, where they moved the kickoff up to the 35-yard line. So interesting that we're actually kind of seeing a situation where kickoffs are being returned. And so if you want to make that bet, you can find some odds there. So those are the types of things I talk about in my article. I'll give you a few of my player props that I'm picking, as well as my parlays, and then I'll get to a couple fun ones that I found. So I mentioned Miles Sanders and his receiving prop. I like that because that's at plus 190. So I like that one. He's had 7 games this year where he's had over 1.5 receptions. So again, I'm a little nervous with his usage when you've got Gainwell and Scott, but 2 catches out of the backfield. I'll take my chances on that with plus odds. I've got both A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith at 5.5 receptions. Devonta Smith, he's had greater than that 4 of his last 5 games, and yet still receiving plus odds is plus 110 for him to get that. So I like that one. Not as much with A.J. Brown, although I can see a scenario where he gets targeted a little bit more than he has been during the playoffs. He hasn't had over 5.5 since week 16, so he's been a little bit below lately, and which is why his odds are even a little bit higher. But again, plus odds for him if you like A.J. Brown in the matchup against those Kansas City rookie DBs, then you can get plus odds for him there. A couple parlays that I like. There's actually 3 of them that I'm betting here on for the Super Bowl. One of them, we talked about Kelsey and a touchdown. In 2 of these bets, actually, I'm going to assume that he's going to get in the end zone, along with practically everyone else. But one in particular, I have Kelsey with an anytime touchdown, Sanders with an anytime touchdown, and each team greater than 16.5 points. So that's a three leg parlay. Of course, you need those touchdowns to come in. I think both teams are going to get over 16.5, so I feel comfortable with that one. But obviously, you need the 2 touchdowns to come in. That one's plus 360, so that one's a nice little return there. The other one, I've got same kind of thing. I've got Hurts and Kelsey with touchdowns, and then a total score greater than 51.5. That one's going to be a little bit more challenging, I think. Again, we talked about the over-unders for both the teams were about 25 points. So that's right at about the 50-point mark. So if there's a little bit more of a shootout than we or the bookmakers expect, then I expect Kelsey to be part of that, and I expect Hurts to be part of that. So I actually found plus 425 on that one. So I like that one as well. And then I took another one specifically with Jalen Hurts. I found one where he 30 plus yards rushing in the first half, 30 plus yards rushing in the second half, and that was at plus 500. So that one's a little bit more of a long shot to me. He hasn't been running nearly as much since he got hurt in week 15, but that game before he got hurt, he was well over 60 plus yards rushing in that one. But he has been going up ever since throughout the playoffs. He's rushing a little bit more. So if the need is there, this is the Super Bowl. I expect him to be, tuck the ball and run. And, if you get 30 plus yards in each half, then that's a nice little return, for this prop. So I like that parlay as well. And then the last player prop, and this is a guy we haven't talked about at all, but Clyde Edwards-Helaire has been activated. Andy Reid and the Chiefs activated him prior to the Super Bowl, so he will play. And, not that I expect him to get a lot of work, but, we're talking about Andy Reid. Andy Reid's a player's coach, and, CEH has been there for him before. So, would it be unlike Andy Reid if they've got 1st and goal on the 2 and just to put Clyde Edwards-Helaire out there and get him a rushing touchdown? Yeah, I could see that scenario. I don't necessarily think it's going to happen, but I could see that scenario. And at plus 600, I'll take a chance on it. So I saw him. He was activated. I went and looked at the prop. 8 touchdowns, 600 plus 600. So it's worth a couple bucks for me to take a shot on that. So that's my really long shot player prop.
Talk about a shot in the dark on DFS.
That's right.
Can you imagine the people that have the stones to just throw in a CEH for, like an LSU fan is like, oh, that was my guy. They throw him in there and he has 4 carries for 6 yards and 3 touchdowns or something. Yeah. Just totally a Super Bowl thing to happen.
We've seen it happen before, haven't we?
Yeah. I mean, we have some cookie cutter. This is what we expected Super Bowls. We also have some complete woes, right? I mean, the Falcons going crazy on the Patriots before they came back and lost was nuts. Both Giants over the Patriots, nobody saw coming. When the Broncos the Seahawks embarrassed the Broncos, right? And that Legion of Boom era and stuff, what they did to Peyton Manning that day was just absolutely embarrassing, And again, I mean, the Rams had the best offense in the league by far when they came up against the Patriots, and that game was 10-7 or 10-3 or something like that. And there was no offense in that particular game. So we can see anything. And I love that you walked us through those props and not just the player props, because I think a lot of people want to do will Travis Kelce have, 75 yards receiving, right?
Right.
He's done that 6 times in the playoffs alone. Will he have that again? And I think that's a number you can quantify in your head and think about. But I kind of like the other stuff, like the who's going to get the ball first, who's going to score, who's going to kick a field goal versus a touchdown. That is so 50-50, right, of getting it right. But it's more fun for me to talk myself through that kind of stuff, because I think that Nick Sirianni, for example, with the Eagles is more aggressive, in my opinion, than maybe Andy Reid would be. Not that Andy Reid's not aggressive. We see him go through it on 4th downs. But in a game where I feel like the Eagles would be if we have the ball, we have to keep it, and we have to take chances to score. Whereas the Chiefs might be meh, we can just kick a field goal with Harrison Butker. He's going to make it from 55, and then we'll get more chances with Patrick Mahomes. We'll be okay. So having conservative versus aggressive mindsets are something that I can talk myself in circles around too.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you think those are fun, there's a lot of other fun ones out there. Everyone probably knows, there's prop bets around the national anthem. And so, I dug in a little bit. Yeah, exactly. I dug into this one a little bit, and it seems like the average
taking the over, I'll put it that way,
is 119 seconds this time. Yeah. So that seems to be in the plus odds I found are for the under. So yeah, like you said, the over is more likely. They expect. We've got a country singer, Chris Stapleton. Singing this time.
He's a slow singer anyway. It's a dramatic song. It's a dramatic stage. It's a, there's billions of people watching this thing, in the moment. They're going to milk that as much as they possibly can.
Yeah, for sure. Although, last year I found the country singer again. He did it just over 100 seconds, or 110. I'm sorry, 110. Yeah. So he had the under for this one. But I agree. I think more likely it's probably going to be the over, and 119 seems to be about the right number. So if I was even thinking about that, I'd probably stay away from it. But, a couple other ones I found that were pretty fun around the national anthem was the color hat that he wears. I mean, where else can you bet on, on guy's hat? But he's pretty famous for wearing a brown hat. But there are plus odds for him wearing a black hat. So I did a little digging, Googled them, started looking at some pictures. And,
nice.
And, believe it or not, he's got a certain cowboy hat that he wears.
Yeah.
If he wears a ball cap, it's always black.
Nice.
It's always black.
Man, folks come to Razzball for the investigative analysis. Well done.
Yeah, yes. So, I mean, I can't think that he's not going to come out there with, without his cowboy hat on, and it'll be brown. But yeah, every picture, if he wasn't in a cowboy hat, he was in a ball cap, and it was always black. So, you can find plus odds for him wearing a black hat if you want to take that chance. I wouldn't, but and then another one I found was pretty fun around the national anthem is which player is shown first during the anthem. They start playing the anthem, and you start passing around, and the 2 players obviously was Mahomes and Hurts, and the right money was on Mahomes. Yeah, I found that one to be there. But and then also you could bet on if any of the words of the national anthem are omitted from the song. He gets tongue tied, he forgets the words or whatever. I'm going to say
no. Chris is a pro's pro. I'm going to say no.
Yeah, I think so as well. But if you think he does, you can get plus 1,000 odds. On that. So
that's funny. Just one word. That's funny.
Yeah, just one word. One word in the song. So So a lot of different prop bets again around the national anthem. That's always a lot of fun. Another one it was actually kind of new to me. I've heard this before, but I never really thought much about betting it. It was what's called an octopus. You ever heard of that one, Sky? So yeah, it's not obviously it's not the 8-legged sea creature, but it is tied to it. Think about it: a player who scores a touchdown and the 2-point conversion gets all eight points. It's called an octopus. So the
old James White.
Yeah, and you can bet that. I won money on that. I won't get too far offline, but I won a playoff pool on James White scoring that touchdown, that 2-point conversion. I won the whole title.
That's insane.
Yeah, just because of that. But anyway,
assuming he did score and his knee wasn't down. Well, we won't talk about that right now.
Well, hey, I got paid, so that's
hey. I'm not trying to discredit him.
Yeah. So
I could see that. I mean, Kelsey definitely a 2-point contender. Hurts could run one of those in for sure. Back end, tight end, maybe a new Philly special, if you will. Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah. So I did a little digging on this one as well, and I found that an octopus has occurred just 175 times since 1994.
Wow.
So all the games, only 175 times. However, 2 of those times were accomplished by Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Both of them were this past season.
So does a quarterback get credit if they throw one?
I think rushing it in and
okay.
Yeah, just rushing it in. All right, I guess you could receive it too, but no, not the passing, but they got to.
So they'd have to pass in a touchdown and then run in a 2.
No, like just with an anytime touchdown, you got to rush it in, or you could, obviously they could be a receiver.
I see, but it doesn't count the throws.
No, correct.
Got it.
No, they've got to actually be credited with the touchdown. Touchdown throw. But yeah, so both Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes accomplished that this season.
Interesting.
Very interesting. Yeah. Only 175 times since 1994, but both of the quarterbacks on your DFS lineup did it.
Hey, so I'm looking for 2-point conversions. Crank it up. I could use those 2 extra points.
Yeah. So
I can see Kelsey being that guy with those little shovel passes and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. But yeah, you can get really good odds if you wanna bet that an octopus will happen. You can get really, really good odds on that, as you would expect. Of course, the halftime show, Rihanna is performing. There's props all over the place for her. What song she'll sing, what order, which song will come first. Which artist will come out and play with her. You can bet on all those things. Yeah. What's her hair color, how many songs she'll perform, color of her clothing. I mean, you can get anything you could ever believe, on that halftime show. You can find it with that one. So that was interesting. Another one I liked, will a kick hit the upright or the crossbar?
Ooh.
Yeah.
I still think they should get a redo on that. If I was Roger Goodell tomorrow, I'd probably do a number of things he doesn't do. But one thing I would do is immediately say, you don't get a point or anything, but you get an automatic redo if you hit the crossbar and it doesn't go in, or the pipe. But anyway,
yeah. So
that's interesting.
Yeah, that was one I liked.
I love how they're just coming up with them now. Is a punt going to hit a camera?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
It's like,
that's right.
I love that stuff.
Yeah, that's like betting, Randy Johnson hitting a bird, or a seagull with his, pitch, right? But But anyway, yeah. So if the Cowboys were playing, and Brett Maher was kicking, then I think the odds would be different. But
poor guy.
Yeah, exactly. But you can get plus odds if you want to bet yes. If you want to, if you think that we're gonna have a ball hit the upright or the crossbar, you can get good odds for that. Although I haven't seen it, I would suspect that you could probably get a prop for Gronk making his FanDuel kick at halftime too.
Oh my God, I forgot about that too.
Yeah, if
what is that, 35 or something? How far is that? Do you remember?
Yes, I think it is 35. I think, yeah.
That's a significant kick.
It is. It's no joke.
Yeah,
it's no joke. So I mean, how many guys who get paid to kick for a living are missing those? Nowadays. So so I'm sure if there's not a prop bet out there and on one of the sites, I'm sure when you get together with your friends, you can someone will lay down odds for him during that event. So But yeah, that was one I thought that was pretty fun. And I actually I took the yes on that. I did put a few bucks on that. I know it just seems like we're seeing that a lot more where kicks are hitting the crossbar or the upright. So
I think that's cool.
I put a little bet on that. And the last one I found, it was really pretty fun, was the color of the Gatorade that's doused on the winning coach.
Lime green.
So if you're an Eagles fan, you want lime green, right? And
or maybe they go blue because it's neutral. Would the NFL do something like that, like orange? That way they're not playing favorites.
So yeah, interesting things I found. The common colors: orange, yellow, or green, blue, red or pink, clear or water, or purple. And purple had the highest odds. Other ones were pretty close. FanDuel obviously is favoring the Eagles because their lowest line was with the yellow or the green, yellow/green Gatorade. And in fact, the last time the Eagles won the Super Bowl, that's what color was dumped was the green. Doug Peterson was doused with the green Kool-Aid after the Eagles won the Gatorade.
Further supporting the narratives going around lately that the NFL is in fact rigged.
Yeah. However,
you do a flyover and see red Gatorade. I mean, you might as well turn the show off.
Yeah. However, Andy Reid, when the Chiefs won Super Bowl 54, what color do you think that Gatorade was?
I mean, I assume it was red or yellow, but I'm going to go with probably blue.
No, it was orange. It was
Orange.
Actually orange. Yeah. So, So I found that historically, orange is the most popular choice.
So funny,
but it is. But
the shit people bet is amazing.
I know, but it is worth noting though. Blue has been used in the last 2 and 3 of the last 4 Super Bowls.
Nice.
Has been blue. So if if you think the Eagles are gonna win this game, then you want to go with the green. Yeah. Otherwise, blue's been pretty popular lately. So
amazing.
You never know. But you can find it if you want to make that bet. You can find it out there. So yeah, a lot of fun ones out there.
I totally agree. And let's not forget too, I'm just going to set a line right here on the program. I'm going to set the line at 17.5, and I'm going to give you a half wing advantage. But we'll have a prop as well. 17.5 wings for Derek throughout the game. Doesn't matter the size of the wing, bone in, you can decide all that. Sauce and all that's on you. But if you get to 18 wings, I'm gonna need a shout out. Otherwise, we're gonna assume that it was the under, and we'll report back next show. And of course, don't forget, you can Google all of these and find these type of props. We don't have them available here right now, but all these commercial ones too, right? Like a lot of workplaces have Super Bowl commercial prop bets and box square things and all that, but it's like what type of car commercial, beer commercial, food, the Whopper song obviously everybody hates now, whatever that might be, and then like who is the first celebrity to become in a commercial, like which throwback commercial. They used to do those Budweiser Clydesdale horses back in the day, like do they bring that back or something? One of those Cindy Crawford Taco Bell commercials or something. So those are kind of fun too. All those like random things are a good time. So I appreciate that, man. Well, best of luck. And how many props would you say overall? Like just the number, how many props do you think you have
that I have in right now? I think I have 11 in right now, and I'll probably do another 4 or 5 before game time.
Nice. So, and we know that Bob's a big prop guy as well.
Yeah. I do it for fun. I obviously I'm not planning to get rich on any of these. That's why I look for the plus odds, because they're a little bit longer shot to hit, but when they do, they're fun, and I tend to I win enough to keep going and having fun with it. So again, I'm not I don't do it to pay my mortgage or anything, but it's a lot of fun. It makes the game a lot more fun.
I love that. And if you lose them all, you lose $20 or something. If you win 4 of them, you might make 50 to 100. I mean, that's pretty sweet.
Exactly.
So whatever,
Exactly.
Turn around a little bit. All right, man. Well, we're long in the tooth here, but this is our final episode of like the 2022-3 season before we get into complete recaps of this season and turning the page into 23-24 here. So let's spend another minute or two talk ourselves through it and give us the actual Super Bowl predictions. Let's give the winner and give a score just for kicks. Derek, I'll let you go first. Who wins the game, and what do you have as the score?
I like the Eagles 34-26.
Wow, 34-26. So you got a couple field goals there, or a 2-point conversion,
Maybe
trying to come back down by 8.
Yeah, maybe an octopus.
Throw an octopus in there. I like that. I am similar. So I'm going to go Eagles also, and I'm going to go 31-23. I think the Eagles start pulling away a little bit, maybe an uncharacteristic turnover with that defense. That secondary for the Eagles does not get enough street cred. They have been absolutely phenomenal. And Mahomes is Mahomes, Kelsey's Kelsey, but the rest of that squad I'm not really worried about. I think they can play well. So I like the Eagles to win at 31-23. And I think, the Eagles, maybe the Chiefs have the ball last and they have to score and go for 2, but I just don't think they have that opportunity. So you and I both have the Eagles. Interesting. I didn't see that coming. So, all right, we both have the Eagles to win the Super Bowl, and both of us by about more than a field goal. So we'll take those odds as well. Derek, it's been a real fun playoffs,
Yes.
And we've had some great shows here with the DFS and the player props. Of course, we're going to be turning the page with the rest of our crew here on Razzball over the next couple of weeks. Before we do that, any last-minute words on either the Super Bowl itself, how the season went, something that you learned, what have you, before we get into full-on recaps? But any final words here before we tune out before the big game?
Yeah, so this is really the first year. I mean, I've been playing fantasy football forever, but this is really the first year that I've been doing a lot of writing and participating in podcasts. It's been a lot of fun, and it's actually made the football season a lot more enjoyable for me. And
awesome, man.
Really, I want to plug the tools that we have at Razzball because those have been really they're really well done, and they really give you a lot of information at your fingertips. So, you've heard us talk about them especially on our Sunday start sit shows. Some of the articles we write, we talk about them. But if you're watching us now, plan to use those next year. They're really, again, a lot of talent goes behind the scenes to put those together. A lot of great information there, and really. It's there to help you win your leagues, whether you're doing fantasy, you're doing DFS or what have you. There's a lot of great information there. So it's been a lot of fun, and look forward to next year.
I love that. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on this year. You and Matt coming on this year, and me being new to Razzball, Bob really, being our quarterback. Obviously, Donkey Teeth and the rest of our crew as well. Of come on and beat on, and everybody else on the Sunday lives. I mean, we've had so much fun, and it's really been a pleasure to have you join us throughout the season and writing as well. But we're just gearing up for next year's going to be bigger and badder, of course, right? We're all have this nucleus. We have a great chemistry at this point. So we'll be back bigger and better next year as well. To everybody that has watched this program, but Razzball in general throughout the playoffs and with Derek and I, but the season as well. Like you and Bob did a lot of episodes. Matt and I did a lot of episodes. You and Matt do episodes. Me and Bob do a lot of episodes. So it's been an absolute pleasure to knock these out with everybody else. So again, make sure you're tuning in to the Razzball Fantasy Football YouTube show right here. Make sure to help us get up over 1,000 subscribers in our first season. We appreciate it. Make sure to find us anywhere you listen to your podcast as well on the go. You hear me rep that all the time. The Razzball Fantasy Football Podcast Show, anywhere you listen to your pods. And then, of course, you can find hockey, baseball, basketball, alternate sports here on Razzball as well. And all of our articles all season long, dynasty content and redraft coming up throughout the summer. Of course, we're going to be doing free agency, covering the NFL draft, everything else along the way here. We will be having it first and foremost right here on the Razzball Fantasy Football Show. It's been an absolute pleasure. Everybody enjoy the game. Root for Derek on those 18 wings. Let's get the over on that. Enjoy the halftime show. Riri is my girl. I'm super stoked to have her out there for the halftime show. She doesn't perform much in public, so that'll be a fun one. Appreciate everybody hanging out with us. For my man, Derek, I'm your host, Sky Guasco. Enjoy the Super Bowl, and we'll catch you on the next round of the Razzball Fantasy Football Show. Have a great time, everybody, and enjoy the game.